playing this tournament in, I think it was New York, and I hear I'm supposed to play this young kid that's got a lot of flair and a lot of flamboyance, and has actually played some pretty damn good tennis too. And it happened to be Vitas, and comes out and plays and actually beats me. I thought I was the young kid coming in, and all of a sudden there's this kid 2 years younger than I coming onto the tour and competing at a high level right away.
What really went down behind the scenes of tennis rebel Vitas Gerulaitis' shocking and way too soon death? He lived life on his own terms, broke all the rules, and absolutely crushed it on the court. But off it, he struggled mightily to reinvent himself. What secrets was he hiding? What is the real legacy he left behind? Born on July 26, 1954, in Brooklyn, New York, Vitas was born for greatness. His Lithuanian immigrant parents instilled in him the passion and drive that would take him to the top. But the question is, what makes a champion? Vitas grew up in Howard Beach, Queens, where he was literally a force to be reckoned with on the tennis court. Attending Archbishop Molloy High School, his talent was visibly plain. So what pushed him to play tennis full-time? Was it the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat? Vitas took a wild gamble by quitting Columbia University in the pursuit of dreams. And boy, did he deliver quite a career. Known as the Lithuanian Lion, he was a very enthusiastic player, but at heart, he was golden. But did you know that his sister, Ruta, was also a professional tennis player? Now, if I ever saw a powerful serve of sibling rivalry, that definitely would be it. Not to digress, though. In 1975, Vitas led the Pittsburgh Triangles to a very exciting championship at the Civic Arena in World Team Tennis, marking his name in the minds of all as one to be watched. He, too, had spent a brilliant time with them from 1974 to 1976, which really confirmed he was not going anywhere. And in 1977, he turned out for the Indiana Loves franchise and left his impact. And of course, who could forget the Grand Slam great Vitas? His 1975 Wimbledon men's doubles title was a showpiece of superb teamwork and tactics taken out onto the courts, with Sandy Mayer as his co-player. It was a match made in heaven, where Vitas's powerful serves were well complemented by Mayer's razor-sharp volleys. The real gem was the championship he won at the 1977 Australian Open men's singles. In an exciting ending, Vitas outmaneuvered Roscoe Tanner, champion of the earlier January tournament. It was a story of two tournaments, with Vitas coming out on top in the December clash. Vitas was a phenomenal tennis player, but dabbled in some very unforgiving substances and had his share of scandalous moments off the court. Doping wasn't such an anomaly in those times. It very nearly got Vitas thrown into the slammer, too. Before we get to that juicy bit, like, subscribe. And now let's hop onto the court. So what did Vitas believe in? First and foremost, partying. As in flying in a private jet, going to Studio 54, and hanging out with some of the biggest celebrities of the time, including Andy Warhol and Mick Jagger. He reportedly had one of the largest American Express bills in the world. Yeah, he was living large. He used to fly into tournaments surrounded by gaggles of beautiful girls and his pals. Of course, all wasn't glamour and glitz in Vitas's life. He used hard drugs to get through the pressures of his superstar life. A friend, John Lloyd, described Vitas as a social user who would party hard and subsequently punish himself by going on rigorous training. He would go on benders for weeks, then train hours a day to get in shape. Vitas was such a multi-level sort of very complex guy, despite his demons. He was a true original, a man with a heart of gold and an adventure. He dated stars of their time, such as Chris Evert, Cheryl Tiegs, and Jennifer O'Neill. One can never forget his 21st birthday party, where he invited the fans to a pajama party and ended up with lipstick on his collar. His drug habits nearly caught up with him. In 1983, a new chapter opened when there was a federal investigation into a cocaine conspiracy. A grand jury voted not to indict Vitas, though the question beckoned. What really went on? Was he involved in a plot to buy $20,000 worth of angel dust? It was closed, but the truth was still veiled. It all started with the mention of Vitas' name by a cocaine conspiracy narcotics defendant, which had triggered the investigation and brought out questions. The sad truth being, things did not really come to a promising end for Vitas. He died tragically on September 17, 1994, which even shocked the world of tennis. But what exactly happened on that night? Gerulaitis was a guy who liked his fun and often overdid it, but he had certainly been more than truthful about his drug problems and had tried to get help. So what was it that killed him? An accident or something even worse? What would soon emerge was the fact that bizarre conjunctions of circumstance had combined to kill Gerulaitis. A malfunctioning propane heater, some quick adjustments by a technician, and a carbon monoxide leak converged. A perfect storm, so to speak, to kill Gerulaitis. But was it just a coincidence? Days before his death, Gerulaitis was out playing in charity events and tennis matches. He had played his final match with Jimmy Connors just days before and was scheduled to appear at a dinner at the Racquet Club of East Hampton the very night he died. But he never showed up. His teammates on the field remembered the sense of humor, joie de vivre, and professionalism he exhibited in the game. They were also aware of his cocaine addiction problem during the late 1970s and 1980s. Was he really free from those demons? The heater had been recently adjusted by a technician just days before Gerulaitis' death. And even if an exhaust pipe had been longer, carbon monoxide would have still been drawn into the air conditioning vent. It was a ticking time bomb just waiting to happen. The family of Gerulaitis settled finally in a confidential way, but nothing can dispel the tragedy of his death, and his death will remain a reminder about life's unpredictability, which is very inconsistent. His legacy continues to be memorialized in a reminder of life's instability and the role of living in the present. The question that must be asked, though, is what really did happen that night? Vitas left behind a glorious legacy, despite his many battles off the court against drug addiction and extracurricular affairs and controversies. Let's take a walk down memory lane and relive some of his most iconic moments. In 1977, Gerulaitis took his most significant title at the Australian Open when, on New Year's Eve, he outlasted John Lloyd in a 5-set seesaw thriller. Can you believe it? What a way to start the year. In February 1981, Vitas Gerulaitis emerged as a victor in the Toronto Indoor Highly Attended Invitational Tournament. He thrashed Connors and McEnroe on his way to winning it. That's called a statement win. During his career, Gerulaitis won 25 top-level singles titles, as well as 8 doubles titles. His career-high singles ranking was world number 3, attained on February 27, 1978. Not bad for a rebel with a cause. Gerulaitis was noted for quick hands at the net and court coverage. He teamed up with Bobby Riggs in 1985 in a challenge to female players in tennis, following the famed Battle of the Sexes. Although this stunt didn't last long, it speaks much for his courage and determination. After leaving the professional tour in 1986, Gerulaitis became a great tennis commentator and coach. He even coached Pete Sampras at the Italian Open in 1994 and saw him win the title there. That's it for this one. If you enjoy tennis legends, our video on Johnny Mac is a treat.